Hey y'all, thank you for joining me for another video. It's been a month since my last video. Big part of that is a lot has been going on. Um, I've not been in a good headspace. I think a big part of it is because the anniversary of my divorce is coming up on the 21st, is Friday. So a lot of memories have been coming up and a lot of things that I hadn't thought about. In fact, even this morning, something occurred to me rather that I hadn't thought about until this morning. Part of why I fell in love with my ex was because he was there for me when I was recovering from my rape. I was raped in June of 1987. He and I had just started talking. A couple of months before that, we hadn't even had a chance to go on our first date just yet because our schedules had kind of, he worked nights, I worked days. And so we were just talking when I got raped in my father's home. So I moved with my mom and my stepdad up to Nebraska so I could heal, because obviously I couldn't live in my father's home, being as I was raped. Well, my ex had been there throughout the entire time. He would talk to me 3 o'clock in the morning when I'd wake up with a horrible um, nightmare, almost like a flashback or something. And he would be there listening, comforting, being so loving. Well, the realization I came to is that he wasn't being genuinely loving. It was all a ruse. And what made me realize that was, fast forward to after we got married, I was very scared to be in our apartment alone. And I was also very scared to be in our apartment at night. We'd go to bed, and of course, we'd turn off all the lights, and that would scare the daylights out of me. I'd have to have at least a small light in the living room or the kitchen, so that way I could see in there. Because not seeing in the living room, because of course being dark, being at night, you can't see anything without the light on. Um, that scared the daylights out of me because the rapist broke into my house at night without me even knowing. He broke in through a bathroom window off the hallway, and the hallway door was closed. I had the window unit air conditioner on, and I had my music on, and I was sitting on a couch, uh, reading or writing or something, because I used to write a lot. And so, of course, I wasn't focused on anything. He broke in and he raped me. And I remember now, I realized that he was so aggravated at the fact that I needed a light on in the living room. And he forced me to talk to a rape counselor, which, in retrospect, I'm glad he did. He didn't do it for me to heal. It's not that he wanted me to heal so I would heal and do better. He was wanting to heal so I wouldn't be an aggravation to him. And I realize that now because of how he even forced me to talk to this counselor. It was like, you need to talk to somebody. I've talked to somebody and they helped me help you. Now you need to help yourself because you can't be keep doing this. It's already been this long, and it's like, okay. So I talked to the person, and lo and behold, he's saying that I should have been healed by now because it had been over. By this point, it was like 8 months because we had been married like 2 months. When in actuality, I was farther along in my healing than I thought and that he thought, which shows from the beginning how strong of a person I am. But that aside, looking back with 2020 vision, I can see that he was aggravated at the trauma responses and the PTSD triggers and pushed me to get help because it inconvenienced him. He didn't like it. And it's like, that hurt because, you know, I thought I could hold on to at least something positive about our marriage in addition to our 3 great kids. I mean, my kids, I wouldn't trade them for the world. I would go through all of this and then some to get, if it meant that that's what I had to do to keep them. But I wanted to hold on to something to say, hey, at least it was this positive. He didn't even help me get over my rape because he cared. It was because it was an inconvenience to him. And y'all, when I say that's been messing with my mind, that is not an understatement. It's been affecting my body. My body's been reacting to all of this to the point to where I need to try to figure out how to take a couple of days off just to get my mind back into a stable environment. And it's been hard. And then recently I saw a thing. This is domestic abuse survivor. I'm sorry, y'all. My brain. Domestic Abuse Awareness Month, and which is kind of ironic. And they're having everybody for on October 22nd. Everybody wearing purple for Domestic Abuse Awareness, and it's Domestic Abuse Survivors Day, and it's like, that's ironic. The day after the anniversary of my divorce, so that's kind of ironic. But I started thinking about what I could post for domestic abuse awareness. And the biggest thing that kept popping up in my mind was make sure to let people know, survivors of trauma and those that are going through the trauma, you're not alone. I remember when I started realizing that I wasn't the only one going through all of what I'm going through, that I wasn't the only one going through and healing the way I was healing. That was so liberating. Yeah, it's sad on the level that so many people have been going through domestic abuse, both men and women. It's still prominently women, but there are more and more men being abused too. I don't know whether there's more men or it's just the awareness is coming more in the spotlight. I don't know. But it's just, it was liberating to know that I wasn't the only one, that what I was going through to heal from the divorce, well, to heal from the marriage was normal. And because I was coming up with videos after videos of what narcissists are like, and some of these videos, oh my word, I swore they knew my ex. I swore that they were in my living room or in my bedroom looking at exactly what I went through. And it was liberating to know that what I'm going through is typical. I don't like using normal too much because trauma is not normal. Also, I always feel that normal is subjective. So I use the word typical. But what I was going through, and what I'm still going through, is typical. And then knowing that there are others out there, I just connected with another abuse survivor. She has a site up on Instagram, and she had messaged me because I just started following her. And she had messaged me asking if there's anything I could think of that I'd like to see. And I couldn't think of anything other than talk about how it's okay to leave after so many years of marriage. I was married 32 years before I got the courage to leave. And one of the hardest things for me to wrap my head around is that it's not too late. That it's never too late. And also, I was wondering if it's even, if there are even other people out there that have been married as long as I have that have finally gotten the courage to leave. And lo and behold, this person that I connected with, she was married 20 years before she left. And she's like, yes, exactly. And then she talked about how she was married for 20 years before she left and a little bit of what she went through. And it's like, oh, again, it's okay. By seeing that it's even typical or that there are others going through it, makes it okay that I'm dealing with it. Because I don't feel so weird. I don't feel so crazy, because you get all of these things in your mind that you're crazy because everything's your fault when you're going through this. And it just felt good to connect with someone else. And so, if you're watching this video and you've been married or with your partner for 15, 20, 30, even 40 years, it's not too late to leave. Because it's not too late to deserve peace and that's what I want to reiterate. That, and that you're not alone. Because when you're going through domestic abuse, you feel alone. I know I did. Y'all, I have the most supportive extended family. Um, Not just my mom and my sister, but my mom's side of the family, and even my father's side of the family. My father wasn't supportive. He was an idiot. He was also a narcissist. Um, but his family has been supportive of me. And this is an entire support system that I never knew I had because of my ex. He had me so isolated. Um, as I've explained in other videos, part of my isolation was my father had me convinced that my mom's side of the family didn't really care about me. They only cared about me because of my mom. Or they took pity on me. And it's like, I believed it because when you hear it enough, even if you don't actively believe it, it's still in the back of your mind. And then when my ex came into the picture and the abuse started, he would mock me for my family. Um, my mom's side of the family, that is. Oh, the almighty, my mom's family's name. And, like the almighty Smiths. And it's like, no, I don't worship them. They're just my family. It's like, oh, yeah, no, if they say something, you do it. No, I don't think so. Because, quite honestly, I felt myself as a black sheep of the family. And looking back, I kind of sort of was, but not in a bad way. I was just a different one. Or at least I felt that way. And he would mock me on them because our family was my family was close. And I always attributed to the fact that he didn't know what it was like to be in a supportive family. Because all he ever grew up was with his father that was abusive, although his father did realize his ways when he got older and tried to make up for it. So I got to give his father that. A mother who was not a nice person. And then his brother, sister, and his grandmother. His grandmother was very manipulative also. So, and that's what he grew up around. He didn't have extended family. So he didn't understand what it was like to have a family that you're close to. And that's what I thought it was. And that may have been part of it. Because over the years, I've had people that are astounded at how big my mom's side of the family is. And yet, we're like closer than anything. And even when my grandparents having long since passed away, we're still relatively close. And that aggravated him. Well, I realize now it's because he wanted me isolated and didn't want me to have that support, because if I felt isolated, I relied on him. I remember when my grandmother passed away, that really hurt hard, because not only because my grandmother passed away, I loved her. I had a lot of regrets because my grandmother loved me. She did a lot of things for me. But over the years, I distanced myself from her because of my ex. I distanced myself from my family because of my ex. And so when she passed away, I had, in addition to the grief, all the regrets. Well, of course, I didn't talk to him about the regrets, but I was grieving. And he kept trying to tell me, take off work, take off work. I was like, no, I'm not going to take off of work. What is it going to do? I can't go to the funeral because here I am in Nebraska and the funeral was in Louisiana and we were strapped for money. I had no way of being able to even drive down there. I didn't have my license at the time anyway. Um, so it's not like I could go there to the funeral. So what good would taking a couple of days off do except be stuck in all of that grief? That the best thing for me was to continue working. And I told him that. I said, he's like, you need to grieve. And I said, no, I need to go to work. And I said, and he's like, to the day we divorced, well, to the day I left him, he was saying that I was relying on everything else but him for that time. And it's like, no. He took what I said as I need to work and twisted it that going to work will heal me and not leaning on my husband. Because that's what he wanted. He wanted me to take 3 days off or a couple of days off and just rely on him and be grieving to him and stuff. And it's like, it was his way of wanting me to lean on him further. And it's not that I didn't want to lean on him, it's a good thing I didn't, but it was because I realized the idiocy. Not to mention, we couldn't afford me taking a couple of days off. So, what purpose would it have been? And, so, and that's to the day that, probably to this day, I mean, I don't talk to him anymore, but probably to this day, he thinks that I relied on everybody but him. Because that's what he said. And it's like, no, I relied on him too much, because had I relied on myself and known my strength and my worth, I'd have probably stayed gone back in 2007 when I called the cops on him the first time. But I didn't realize my strength. And that is what else I want to talk about, is realize you're stronger than you think you are. And this bit about my trauma made me strong. No. You got through your trauma because you're strong. You may have become more resilient because you had to, but don't give your trauma that credit. Don't give your abuser that credit. You are strong. Excuse me, you are stronger than you think you are. I look back, and I've had therapists and counselors amazed at how strong I am and how much I've healed in the past 2 years alone. And I'm realizing that I wish I would have realized then, before I left him, how strong I was, or I am, because I might have left him sooner. Trust me, the scariest thing I did was stay gone. I was fighting with myself to call the police that day. What got me to do it was because of my kids, because I knew that I couldn't keep it. It wasn't right that I had to hide talking to my kids behind his back. That I had to delete text messages, text message threads once we were finished with the conversation, just so he wouldn't find them. That I would have to delete phone logs just to hide it from him. I realized I was never going to have a decent relationship with my kids. My two older ones, especially. My youngest one was still at home at the time. And if I didn't, and that's what got me to do it. But I tell you, that was hard. It was scary because it's like, what am I doing? You know, I'm 55 years old and I'm going to be single. What am I doing? I can't do. I was scared. I was fighting myself the entire walk to the car. When I got in my SUV and I was driving to the store, I was literally fighting with myself to get it done. But I'm so glad I did. And I look back now and realize how strong I am. Just like you are strong. You're stronger than you think you are. You are stronger than your abuser wants you to think you are. You are stronger than what the abuser tells you you are. You are not weak. You are not unworthy. You're not worthless. You are loved by God. You are capable. You are strong. And you can do this. And then you get to the point where you look back and you see how much you've changed for the better and realized that you can do this. You've got this. You have a great day and stay blessed.